Hey everyone, welcome back to All Things Cinema podcast. This feels like nostalgia a little bit because these two faces that you're seeing right here, they have not been seen together on this channel for so long. Good to have you back, Farad. Long time no see.
Hi Keshav, thank you for having me. And yeah, I can only say that because I was very busy with my own channel. It has recently crossed 1K subscribers. So yeah, it is. It has been a bit of a ride with the website and the YouTube. I think I made this comment on your last video also of your friend, but it is the reality. You know, nothing else
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually very happy with the fact that within less than a year your channel has grown so much, 1,000 subscribers, and uh, hopefully you'll start earning from it as well very soon. And I think when we started, even when I was new and you were a part of the channel, and now when you are on your own with the website, I think you are doing a commendable job. Keeping both the things plus your job, which is like an everyday thing. So good to have you back, and we couldn't have chosen a better occasion because probably the biggest uh, surprise of the year, Drishyam 2, which is doing so well in Hindi circuit, because so many people had seen the Malayalam film as well, but still, to generate that kind of an interest and to be a remake and yet to have its own identity, I think that's probably one of the reasons why it's doing so well. And I'm also I'm aware of the fact that a lot of people in the North Belt would not have seen the Malayalam version as well. And because the way it ended in 2015, the first part, the way it ended, the second and third October has stayed with people for so long. So they were always, for all these years, they were keen to know that, what's the next step. So, first thoughts, like, when this movie was announced and when the Malayalam one came, you saw and put out a review on your website as well. So, first of all, were you keen on a part two after the way part one ended?
For the Hindi one, you're asking?
Both, like, in terms
I
of
mean,
storytelling, like, did part one have a satisfactory ending or did you all crave for a part two?
so it was interesting that you asked this. I'll start with the Malayalam one because there are so many sequels that we see these days, which, break the legacy of the first film. When the first film does very well, you tend to stick on to its success and not make a sequel, not just linger on the story. But Drishyam 2 was not that story, the Malayalam one.
Hmm.
And I remember
Yeah.
it had directly released on Amazon Prime. It did not have a theatrical release. And I had watched it the same night it was out. And I had absolutely loved it. I mean, it was like, it caught me off guard totally. Which is when I thought that, when the Hindi one would be made, this, might just tank. And we've
Hmm.
recently seen so many remakes, adaptations, which have been doing well. The biggest one being Vikram Veda, and in that when it
Hmm.
that did not do well, I was like, Drishyam 2 is in trouble. But it was a surprise, considering that, and there are two, three factors to that. One is because I feel that the first one, has a huge fan base up in the north, and second one is that the Malayalam one was not dubbed into Hindi. So, like,
Yeah.
it broke my myth that, like, people are exposed to so many content on OTT, they are watching it, and no, Farhad, you do that. You probably do that partly for your living, but people just take time out, over the weekend. So that
Hmm.
broke the myth. So the remake culture is here to stay with the Drishyam 2 success that is there. And it is a good adaptation of the original. So the
Yeah.
script in itself was a winner and it was well
Hmm.
adapted in the Hindi one.
Yeah, and even Helen and Millie also in some sense that it was also a remake of a Malayalam film, and I was not disappointed with the Hindi remake, but the fact that it's a double edged sword that you also feel at times that there is lack of originality in Bollywood. That's why they are going there. They have a safe formula and they can just adapt it. But then when the people are directing, like Helen director made Millie and Vikram Vedha directors made Vikram Vedha here as well. So when same people are attached in both the projects, that's when you still feel okay. I mean, they want to tell the story differently to a different set of audience with different setups and culture differences that you can actually point to. But when something like Drishyam 2 comes along, especially when the director of part 1 is no more and somebody else has to take the baton forward, that's when you are little skeptical. And also, uh, as you said, that Vikram Vedha was not that good in terms of numbers and people acceptance in some sense. So how big a role did the success of Drishyam 1 and also the cliffhanger note on which it ended played in the fact that both Malayalam and Hindi industry came up with a part 2 and maybe a part 3 in future?
And it's a very big role, and Drishyam as a franchise, I feel, is very popular, considering that it's
Yeah.
been remade in every language. It's been remade in Telugu. It's called
Yeah.
Drishyam, released directly on
Mm.
Amazon Prime. There's a Kannada one, Drishya. There's a
Mm.
Tamil one, Papanasam. There's a Chinese Drishyam also that is there. So,
Mm.
of course, the Hindi one. So, yeah, it is popular in a way, but there are two, three things that need to be taken into consideration here with the Hindi adaptation. Now, there is a strong recall value that's there of the first Hindi Drishyam that is there. The entire, as you
Yeah.
started, that Satsang one, 2nd October, the memes, everything that was circulating. I think that was something that made the very popular over the
Mm.
ages. It won't be wrong if I say it's a cult. Drishyam 1, the business I remember was not even 100 crore, although it was a hit,
Mm.
the Hindi one.
Mm.
It was 75 crore around, but it was immensely appreciated. So over the time when
Yeah.
people happened to watch it over satellite and OTT, that is when the film gained its popularity. And people were definitely waiting for Drishyam 2 in Hindi also to be remade. I mean, probably some may
Mm.
have not watched the original on purpose also, because they knew
Mm.
that they would sometime, it would be so immensely popular. And I think
Mm.
it is a well adapted film as well. Talking about it, if I can, some of the you know in the Malayalam one, and I like the Malayalam one more, of course, because of its originality. But the first stuff, if you see, it was a slow build up that was there. Like there was this lurking danger that was already there. That was, slightly changed in the Hindi one to
Yeah.
make the audience feel that it wasn't lag. The Hindi speaking audience, with all due respect, do not have that kind of patience or the intellect. With all due
Mm.
respect, I'm saying
Mm.
that. And so it was a very smart decision to edit out a few subplots, like the entire subplot of Anu's character. In
Mm.
the original, if you see, it had
Yeah.
that. In this, it did not have that. So that made the first half a little more tighter.
Yeah.
So that is the true sense of adaptation. Adapting it, are you doing a frame by frame thing, or are you adapting it
Mm.
according to the place where it is set in? So I think that, in its truest sense, was an adaptation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, the difference between if anybody wants to see a difference between a remake and an adaptation, just watch Drishyam 2 and Millie. Millie is a proper remake, frame by
Proper
frame
remake.
remake, and
Yeah.
this is probably an adaptation more to cater
I
to
mean,
the different kind of audience.
in Millie, it was said that it is set in Dehradun, but it
Yeah,
definitely I couldn't
yeah.
distinguish between Kochi and Dehradun, right?
Or even you couldn't have made out that it's Dehradun out of so many cities in North India. You could just have say if
Yeah,
you would have told me this is a random XYZ city, no one would have taken it because there was no identity as such
absolutely.
to that city. But coming back to this, so as you pointed out, like for example, Anu's character didn't have enough arc in the Hindi one. So what are the things that you like more in the Hindi version compared to Malayalam?
Oh, in the Hindi version, I definitely
Yeah.
like the presence of Akshay Khanna. I think that was a
Okay.
superb casting decision to cast
Yeah.
him in the role of Murli Gop. I think, Murli Gopi, right? Yeah. And some of his confrontation scenes, are brilliant. And that, I think, was in the Malayalam one, or not as
Yeah.
powerfully written.
Yeah, I mean that guy seemed a bit more subduedly written role in that
I wouldn't say
but
it was
here like
subdued per se. I wouldn't say it was
I
subdued
mean
per
in
se, but
comparison, like Akshay Khanna was shown more of a heroic kind of a guy, the way his entry scene is there.
yeah, it was more sarcastic. The character had a little more sarcasm and humor to it. I think that is
Yeah,
where the differentiation of the character happens.
yeah. There's a comment Rahul says, for a Malayali like me, the answer can be quite biased. See,
For
that's why
us as well.
we no, because see, for us, we can be biased, but since we claim to do it professionally, like we have a YouTube channel and we try to review things on YouTube, and Farad also does on website, so we try to be neutral. That's why we are doing a fair comparison, not really standing towards one side. That's why I'm asking, like, which parts he liked more in Malayalam or which parts he liked more in Hindi. Also, if, people who are watching, they can also tell us, what did they think about it. Performance wise, like, whatever reviews I've seen so far across internet, people have told that there was more meat in the way Mohanlal did it, but
Absolutely.
Ajay Devgan made Vijay his own. Like, he has his own identity and he has his own signature style of playing that protagonist. So, should we be comparing at all? Because it's a different setup, it's a different language. It's a he brings something to the table. Ajay Devgan in comparison to Mohanlal.
I actually tend to both interpretations are very good. Of
Yeah.
course, for me, the Mohanlal one definitely be better, and I'll tell you the reason why. The
Okay.
reason was not in the acting as it was in the writing. Now,
Hmm.
I just have to give you one instance. That end that is there, of
Hmm.
Mohanlal, staring or looking at the character of Murli Gopi, the character of what was it in the original? The Sadhana's character. What is that character's name? I forgot. So
I
he was looking through the bushes, and that there was a voiceover that came, that George Cooties, is going to return or something like that, and it was more of remorse that his entire life is going to be spent in a jail-like situation, although he's not physically in jail, but a jail-like situation.
Hmm.
Here in Drishyam, he made the character of Ajay Devgan makes it sexy. He like
Hmm.
says that I am here to protect my family. So it was more triumphant.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
just give you one more instance. And um, uh, you know the YouTube journey. My YouTube journey started with the podcast of Drishyam to Malayalam, which was on Tanya's channel, Tanya's previous channel.
Okay.
So in
Okay.
that, we had an interesting point that was raised by Sanket Abhiram. Sanket, he has come on your
Hmm.
channel also. So there he had said, watching the Malayalam film, that I did not like the fact that the crime was made sexy in the Malayalam one.
Hmm.
And I had a retort. I said the crime is not sexy here. It definitely is more cerebral, and there is a sense of guilt to the characters also. That same point, if I have to pick that point of Saket and put it here in Hindi, it applies. Here, the
Hmm.
crime is made sexy. It is made
Yeah.
triumphant. Like when you say the 7 years have gone from 2015 to 22, there's a family picnic happening with a song playing in the background, almost
Hmm.
as if nothing happened in the past. Whereas in the Malayalam
Yeah.
one, there was no songs. It was
Yeah.
proper tension that was being built. At every step, there
Hmm.
was a sense of lurking danger that was there. I think
Yeah.
that approach, the Malayalam one, hit for me.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I didn't that one song. It was also a good song, and the fact that catering to the Hindi audience, who's used to having this kind of a musical narrative that takes forward. And in fact, last week I was performing at this event where DSP Devi Shri
Oh,
Prasad, who has
90%.
done music, and Amitabh Bhattacharya, who wrote the lyrics. They both were there. I
Wow,
met them, and I gave my compliments because I loved the score of the film. The Hindi version,
brilliant.
which was something so much for me to learn from as well. So song wise, I think, and especially that rap song which comes at the end. I mean, uh, it was on loop for me for so many. So yeah, so as you the song, but also I also think why the crime or the way it is presented in the Hindi one is it comes out a little more glamorous or sexy, as you said. It's because, or in if I talk in Rahul Dravid's language, 4 words starts with S. So I think because the Malayalam one was sold to people saying that it's a family drama, and the Hindi one is being sold to people saying it's a out and out thriller.
Thriller.
And because in Hindi belt, the thriller is a bit more, because as you said, like people down south, especially the Malayalam audience, is used to the slow pace burn and that kind of, and they have a lot more patience because they have been exposed to that kind of cinema for so long. But here the patience is less. That's why you're selling it as a proper out and out thriller. You can't sell it as a slow burning family drama, right? So maybe that's why these kind of differences we are seeing in the Hindi version, and it's working for all it's worth.
It was a smart decision. It's clearly shown in the numbers. So it was a
Yeah,
smart decision for
yeah, yeah,
adapting to the Hindi audience.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And also
And
Abhishek
you could make
Parikh.
out with the reaction of the crowd. I mean, Keshav, you would
Oh,
also have witnessed that.
absolutely,
They went
absolutely,
bonkers
and
in the theater.
yeah,
Like,
especially the second half when everything gets revealed at the end.
yeah,
Like that book, uh, the whole when the revelation comes that he was planning all this. He knew exact steps, what to do, when to do, and he knew what's gonna happen and how it inspired. I mean, I was in a full house, and the way people were acting, it didn't actually feel like there has been a 7 years gap between these two films. I mean, people can have such a short attention span these days. The memory fades away of films which has come 7 years ago. But for people, and I'll not lie, I watched Drishyam 1 a night before I went for Drishyam 2. I had to
oh,
recap it, and I watched it completely once again because see, I'd seen Drishyam 2 in Malayalam also long back. I think it came last year or something. And
yeah.
Drishyam 1 was so long back as well. So I was like, I need to get into that groove and that zone of the world that this Salgaonkar family is living in. And trust me, like, after watching it previous night and then sleeping for a few hours and waking up and going for the first day, first show, it just felt like, I'm a part of their world, and it, it it felt really good to be involved in that in the Hindi version. Where did you watch, and how was the response in that theater?
So I happened to watch it here in Mumbai only, and it. I mean, the crowd. There was another cheer that was there. When Akshay Khanna reminds the people that you know. You remember 2 अक्टूबर को क्या हुआ था,
Yeah,
गांधी
yeah,
जी का जन्मदिन है, लाल, वो जो that entire dialogue that is there,
yeah, yeah,
that uh, again met with lot of cheers,
yeah.
and that ending, that was, I could barely hear
And
what is going on.
how many cheers did Gaitonde got, man? I mean, for a
Right on
side
day,
character
yeah,
like that, I've never seen people cheer so much or shout so much when a side character like that appeared in a Hindi film for a long time.
absolutely, and I think there's a strong sense of recall value also from the first film, and that is, I think, what is strong into the reactions that are landing up with the film,
Yeah.
and I think that is something that is excellent.
Let me just give a shout out to Bifer, who says, I love both of your channels. I never miss an
Thank
episode.
you.
Thank you. And he watched the Chinese Drishyam to refresh his memory. I hope he's joking, and it's a good joke if you are joking. But if you're serious, then I, I bow down to you that you did that. Rahul says the scene when the boy asked Mohanlal whether he buried the body under police station. What Mohanlal did is only something full of. Do you recall that scene?
I think that he's referring to that scene where does he befriend that guy and takes off that boy
Mm.
from the morgue. I think
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
the scene. And to be fair, and that's a good point. That's a good point. Who is it by? Rahul, is it? I can't read the
Rahul,
name.
yeah.
Rahul, yeah. So it's a very good point considering that on paper, uh, even the Malayalam ones seemed a little far fetched. That how can a person do so much planning? Like, and that is something that made Mohanlal made it believable with his acting. And the Malayalam one was also very smartly written, and it was very well aware of what it was trying to convey. Uh, Considering
Yeah,
that it was a meta reference within the same movie. When there's that novel that is being revealed, and he says that you know this is the key proposition, which is what it was laid out as in the original as well.
yeah,
And I think that was very
yeah.
self-aware of the writers, knowing that yeah, it is far-fetched, but it is also possible.
Yeah, Joel has an interesting one. He says, I feel Hindi Drishyam 2 fell quite flat in the climax scene if you
Yeah,
compare it, as the twist didn't have such impact, both Akshay performance and background score. I mean, look, what I felt was, first of all, since Drishyam to Malayalam came directly on OTT, and this one had a theatrical release, so I think watching it in theater makes a little bit of a difference. Like, the impact is a little more than what it could be on a small screen on OTT at home. So that plus, as you said, the background score. So if you're watching it on phone, or with a Dolby system in a theater, that adds a lot more value. So maybe because of those reasons, people didn't mind this climax scene. But of course, if somebody had seen Malayalam version beforehand, and then you watch it with a different lens when you go to the Hindi one, because you already have a reference point to compare it with, right? So maybe from that point of view, I can partially agree that was not as overwhelming, the revelation. But yeah, Farad, your point.
I would tend to agree as well, because I think it just lifted itself up a little due to the ups that was there, the ambience that was
Yeah,
created.
yeah,
But
yeah,
otherwise, I knew how it was going to end.
yeah,
I think even Keshav did the same thing. Plus, the point that I was making a little earlier, that there was no sense of remorse to the character of Vijay
mm,
Salgaonkar. He's more like a superhero, which was kind of a right approach for the Hindi audience. But if you and me are exposed more to the Malayalam films, we've been watching a lot of
yeah.
Malayalam, then I think I would tend to agree with that statement. It was a tad underwhelming. I've written that in my review as well on my.
Yeah, and like most of the people around us in the theater would definitely not have seen the Malayalam version. I'm sure
Yeah,
of
they
that.
clearly
Otherwise,
hadn't.
those that kind of reaction you can't imagine from people who know the climax already. I mean, I was not
Yeah,
clapping or shouting like them, but I was kind of waiting for them to react to it, and because that's an interesting thing to kind of gauge what kind of a movie it is, just by the sheer reaction of the people around
mm.
you. If you know already something what's going to happen, and you know the points where it's going to land, and then you wait for everybody to react. So I think uh, going forward, like now, do you see a Drishyam 3? I think in Malayalam they've already announced, right?
I think there's a news that is floating around that the Malayalam one and the Hindi one are going to release on the same day. I think if that
Oh,
happens, it's going to be like a crazy weekend. Watching two back-to-back films and then doing this comparison. And so, yeah, I mean, there's no
but
doubt that
would it would it
Drishyam 3 is going to
would it
come out.
make sense? Would it if
So,
hypothetically it happens? Would it sense?
I actually happened to watch or read somewhere. I think Jitu Joseph's interview that Drishyam was it originally or not? But it is a three-part series. So there is a third chapter that is going to conclude the universe that is there. And if that comes, then it's like a brainless decision. Definitely, even the Hindi one is going to come out.
No, no.
And
What I mean is, does it make sense to release both versions on same day? I mean, it's not a dubbed thing;
it
it's
will
a
be a
properly
great.
different.
I think it will be a great experiment because
Okay.
if that happens, then this will be like a even a further step ahead of an adaptation that is there.
Mhm.
It is something like probably like a dobara, when the rights are handed over at the scripting level instead of a film level. I think that is a interesting. It will add a whole new dimension. I think that will then be like up a comparison, because
Mhm.
either of us will not know what to expect in the third part, and
Yeah.
whether that turns
Yeah.
out to be exactly that, I think that will be a accurate
Yeah.
reaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
You know,
somewhere we are
it's
still cheating ourselves and saying that we knew how it was going to end. So,
yeah, it's kind of like when the knockouts happen in
yeah,
some of the so at the same time matches are going on, so that the other team doesn't have the advantage of knowing what they need to do to qualify. So it's like at the
absolutely.
same time both films are out, but somewhere deep down inside, I would love for Jeetu Joseph to direct the Hindi version for a change, but I know it's not gonna happen because
Um,
Abhishek Pathak has done a good job now, so they might stick him. Uh, uh, Ken Adams is
can
quite
I say
some name
one
if
thing
you.
before you go to the comment?
Yeah.
Jitu Joseph had also directed the Telugu one. So, I mean, not him not doing the Hindi one would actually then make sense, because then he would himself start getting repetitive. I mean, with all due respect, the Telugu one did not have the same kind of impact on me as
Mhm.
probably the Hindi one did. That was a fresh interpretation. So I
No, no, what I
think
mean is, I want him to direct the Hindi one, and maybe Malayalam one somebody else can direct. I am
no,
okay
that
with
was
him
never going to
writing
happen.
this. I mean, see, it can be Jeetu Joseph's story, and somebody else directs it in Malayalam, somebody he trusts maybe, and he directs the Hindi one. I mean, I know I'm shooting in the dark, and it's a big leap, but
I mean,
I thought maybe some other movie in future, but I really want to see how Jeetu Joseph would work in a given a Hindi setup and a North
but he's
setup,
done
and
a
then
Hindi film earlier, which did not work, right? The Body,
then
which was Imran Hashmi
I'm
and
not
Rishi Kapoor.
okay. I've not
He
seen
had
that.
directed that film as well. So, and that did
Okay,
not work. It was a remake of
okay,
a Spanish film. Okay, the same
okay,
name. It was The Body.
okay,
So
okay.
Jitu Joseph has actually directed a Hindi
Okay,
film
then
also.
my bad. I was not aware of that movie. Ken Adams says, yeah, so he's saying this pretty much the same point that both the films will launch together, and but Jitu has stuff to finish before starting Drishyam 3. I mean, see, we waited for 7 years between part 1 and part 2, and I'm sure, but I think the gap will be lesser now from 2 to 3. COVID happened, so they had to, wait a couple of years extra. Joel says, guide to catch the Malayalam movie Kochal in Z5 OTT.
Okay,
I think
added to the watch list.
that is, yeah, that is
Too
more
much content that is going
directed
on. It becomes difficult to overwhelming rather
yeah.
to watch every
Yeah, no,
content.
I think that comment is directed more towards you because I've been inactive on the channel for 2 weeks. I think in the last 2 weeks I've only done Pedia a couple of days ago, and now this because of work commitments and everything. But yeah, Ashwin says original is the best. The climax scene was more intense. Original was a more detailed movie. Also, no open is better than Mohanlal for this role. I think he means no actor is better. Hindi was a version with cut scenes and details. Yeah, Ashwin, we pretty much discussed on the same lines as well. But since most of the North Indians had not seen the Malayalam original, that's why they bought into the Hindi one. That's why the movie is doing this kind of crazy numbers because it's something new for them. People like rare in North who are Hindi speaking but also exposed to Malayalam cinema in the way we are. But I'm sure, after this, more and more people uh, uh, go towards watching more original Malayalam content and
I would
not the
really
remakes.
want, I would really want people to watch it, but however much I don't think people are going to, venture unless
Mhm.
the film has, Hindi dub. People are
See,
not used to watching films with
either
subtitles.
either people should watch the Malayalam original or they should wait for the Hindi remake. They should not watch that in between that Hindi dubbed version that comes now on YouTube of the Malayalam version.
That is the
They should
most
skip that one.
selling. That is the selling
I
cake
know,
that is there, the Hindi dub one.
but Yeah, but they should skip that because the dubbing is so bad that it like sometimes it
Yeah, I agree.
literally translated and it loses its value and the relevance and everything. Ken Adams says Hindi audience are something that Malayalam directors and actors are still struggling to figure out. Jitu probably won't be the ideal person to do. Yeah, I agree. To some extent, I do agree, and same goes for uh, Hindi directors struggling with Malayalam audience probably. It takes time, and very few directors in India have like something what now Rishabh Shetty did. He made a film which everybody resonated with. So it's very once in a blue moon kind of a thing. When pan India audiences are connecting with a director in a movie.
I have a slightly different take to that, and that's an interesting question that is there. And the reason why, according to me, is probably because the films are deeply rooted down
Mm.
south,
Yeah.
right? And the Hindi, as even I think it was addressed by Anurag Kashyap also, that there are no Hindi films that are deeply rooted to the culture.
Mm.
And if you're understanding the culture, why aren't remakes working in the first place? Why did this work? That's an interesting thing, right? It's about adapting that into your land where the film is residing in. So,
Yeah.
why did Millie not work? We touched upon that earlier. First, there was no differentiation between the cities that are there. It just seemed like a frame to frame copy, and that is why I think adaptations. I think it's a dirty word. Okay, remakes are a dirty word, but if it's done well, like Vishal Bharadwaj adaptation, that's like adaptation,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Shakespeare in a different set
Even
of the same story.
even Dilish Pothan, how they adapted Joji from
Yeah, Virgin. Yeah, absolutely,
Shakespeare. So yeah,
absolutely.
so
So
there.
I think that is the
Uh,
mix that needs to balance it out. Yeah,
yeah, and see why the film is doing excellent numbers in Maharashtra is because it's a Marathi family, Salgaonkar. So they are relating more to. They feel
that's
like he's one of their
openly.
own. So yeah, I mean, with that last name, I'm assuming that that's why Maharashtra is doing that kind of numbers because of the relatability and
Yeah,
as you said that it's rooted to that culture a little more. So yeah, so I think we more or less touched upon most of the aspects, and uh, we are past our time that we thought we'll do the stream for. Good fun, good comments as well. Thank you guys for joining. We hope to be back sooner than later. Let's take a last comment. Ashwin says Priyadarshan is a Malayalam director who used to remake 80s Malayalam hit in Bollywood. Yeah, Hera Fairy. Yeah, I mean, gone are those days also, right? Because now it kind of I really miss those sort of old school comedies which right now in the name of comedy they just make vulgar stuff. I'm having a few hopes now from Circus. That trailer is coming tomorrow, so let's see what Rohit Shetty has for us. Bifer says you guys are the best. Thank you so much.
thank you.
I think on that note, that is a good note to end this stream. And people who are watching or who just joined us, if you can watch it on replay, if you like it, press the like button. If you're coming from my channel, go to Popcorn Reviews and subscribe to Farhad's channel. If you're coming from there, subscribe to this channel. And you might not be aware that Farhad had been an old fox on this channel for the whole of last year, and we have so many reviews if you go back to the old videos that you can check out, especially Malayalam cinema. So thank you once again, and Farhad, any parting words before we end this?
I hope to come on your channel soon. Time permitting, of course, but I really hope I
Yeah.
had a good time. So really, let's do it like faster this time. Like it's on me actually, rather. It's not on you. It's on me. I have been delaying it, and I say sorry, but time
No, that's
permitting,
fine. I mean,
definitely.
we'll probably try some our channel as well, and uh, okay, Joel has one last minute comment in time. Any one of you guys feel Ajay performance lazy because he seemed to have same expression in Runway 34 or RRR. Joel, you have to watch his throughout his career. He has that look and feel to himself. So if you are
It's about
new
shooting
to
a character
Ajay
or not, I
Devgan,
think.
yeah, if you're new to Ajay Devgan, you're just freshly exposed to his acting skills. Maybe that's why you're commenting it, but we have seen him growing up for the last 20 years or so. it's not a lazy performance. It's just in his persona that he has that kind of a nature to himself that it feels like it's lazy, but it's actually not. It's just in his nature, maybe. But I can understand why somebody from Malayalam background would say, and why Ajay Devgan would come out like that to them. But interesting one, like yeah. Anyway, thank you, 8 people watching. Thank you, guys. Just press the like
Thank you.
button if you like this, and comment. We'll be back soon. Thank